Hey everyone, welcome back to my Earth Friendly Kitchen. I'm Maria, your host, and today we're making a quick chili. It is one of the coziest things that I think is good for the nice cool weather that we're coming up on now. Nice evening, like coming home to a nice warm bowl of hot chili. Like it's like every dream of mine. When I'm like in the middle of the summer and I'm dying of heat, believe it or not, I dream of like the cold nights with a warm bowl of chili. Really any kind of soup in general, but it is soup season, so technically chili is considered a soup. So I'm just gonna cut up a few cloves of garlic. Some of these guys need to be cut off the ends, you know, just because something looks a little bit damaged. As long as it's not to the core, you know, you could just cut this part off and not use it, right? The inside's still good to use. So, you know, try not to waste a whole clove just because part of it looks a little funny. So we'll cut the ends off here. You know, we try not to be wasteful because, you know, some places would still cut even that up, you know, because they, you know, wouldn't know where to get, you know, or when they were going to get it again, or they use every last bit. But, you know, we try to avoid the potential for bacteria, you know, active to get in if it's not good. You know, you don't want to eat bacteria. So we're just gonna nicely fine chop this garlic. You know, like we said, it's a chili, it is a soup. You want things to be fairly uniform, but some things are going to be smaller than others, right? So garlic is going to be smaller than a pepper because, you know, it's a little bit easier to take a bite out of a pepper than it is a piece of garlic. I mean, unless you're in my family who, you know, will say it's good for the heart to just pop a clove of garlic every now and then. I know my great grandparents used to do that, at least from the stories that I heard. So just gonna chop those up, put this in the bowl. Now everything's going in the pool at once today, so we're just gonna put it in the same bowl together at once. And I'm just gonna chop up this onion. This is like I guess this is about a medium, smallish onion. So I would, you know, if you had a really big onion, I would probably do half because you don't want to overwhelm the dish. But I would, you know, I'm going to put this whole thing in because it's, again, like a medium size, smallish onion. Or you could use, you know, shallots and whatnot. So I'm just going to make a slice down the center here and then slice it down the top. This is one of the fastest way to make small dices of your onion as uniform as possible. Okay, well, we're losing, guys. Somebody always tries to escape. I see you. I see you when you leave. You can't jump ship here. All right. All right, so just how easy and quick that is. That is just so fast of a chop. And then we're going to try to cut our peppers about the same size as the onions. Oh, my eyes are tearing, guys. Quick, tell me something sad because I have an excuse to cry. I'm just kidding. Oh, there's plenty of sadness out there. Oh my goodness. It's really hitting me today, guys. This must have been one ripe onion. Ooh, okay. So, I am just going to cut this pepper up. We're taking out the seeds in the center, right? But we'll use that chunk for our frozen bag because it has really nice flavor still. I also go around the top because this is also very good stuff to still use. And then I put this guy also in my freezer bag. So I just made some broth today that we're going to use for our chili, my scrappy vegetable broth. So we'll put a link to that video if you haven't seen it yet. It's just a really great way to use your leftover scraps so that you use every part of the vegetable to make a nice broth that you can then turn into soups or use it for you know, any kind of marinades or, you know, dressings, things like that, whatever you need veggie broth for. So I'm just going to chop these up, like I said, a nice small dice. Try to be as uniform as you can, you know, because the more uniform you are, the more uniform it cooks. And aesthetically, it looks nice, right? Like when things are all one size. You'll always notice, like in really nice, fancy restaurants, like things are always like the same perfect, you know, size. I mean, we cook from home. We don't have to be perfect, right? But it does help with the cooking process to have things fairly uniform. Okay, so there's that. Now this is very minimal fresh ingredients. The rest is actually going to be from the pantry. So I do consider this kind of like a pantry meal, except for the ground beef. When I say beef, I say that lightly because we're actually going to be using vegan crumbles today. You know, we do try to, you know, I used to be vegan all the way, and I'm no longer that. I'm more, I guess you would call a flexitarian, where I'm mostly plant-based, but I do now incorporate meat into my diet. You know, obviously people will say that you're just like an omnivore because you eat everything, but which is true, but I'm like 80-20 for me. So we do try to still have at least 1 or 2 plant-based meals a week for me and my husband, even though he wasn't a vegan when I was a vegan, because we know it's good for the environment, actually. If everybody in the world did a meatless Monday, we would actually, so they say, reduce gas house emissions by like 40%, which is a huge impact on climate change, as we all know is an unfortunate issue that we're dealing with right now. Crisis. Unless you're watching this in like 2146 and like maybe we've beat the climate change already and you're like, this is a vintage video of, you know, someone before we made the change. I hope that happens. I hope this video lives forever and we beat climate change one day. So I'm also gonna put, I'm not putting that in there. I'm also gonna chop up a couple of jalapeños. Now these are small guys, so I'm gonna do about 3 of them. If you have larger jalapeños, you can, you know, just maybe use 1 or 2. Depending on your spice level, you could put more. You could put all of them in. It's just these guys are a little bit small. These are from my garden that I grew myself. So, you know, we're kind of at the end of the growing season for this plant because it thrives in nice warm weather. But not so much in the cooler weather. And I live in New Jersey, so we're already starting to have really cold nights. Nice cool days, which is wonderful, but the nights are getting to be like in the 40s, and jalapenos just don't like it that cold. So this will be part of the last bit of the batch that I have. I have a few more that I'm just kind of letting live on the stem right now to see if they get any bigger. But if not, what they'll do is they'll actually start turning red if you leave them on your plant, and they actually get hotter if you leave them on your plant. So fun fact, if you're a gardener and you always pick your jalapenos when they're green, if you let them be for a little while and the bugs don't get to them, they will get hotter and they will turn a nice beautiful red color. I learned that on accident because one year I just forgot about them and they were there. So I was like, cool. Like when happy accidents like that happen. Okay. And I didn't put my jalapeno stuff in my freezer bag because I'm not going to put jalapenos in a vegetable broth because obviously that doesn't go with everything. I mean, I guess I could and maybe like label it, you know, hot broth, but I use it for so many things. I'm just not going to do that. But you could if you have your own bag and you make a lot of like chilies or something like that. Now, I'm just also going to chop up some of the cilantro here. This is my favorite savor of herbs. This goes, oh, it's upside down. This has holes in the bottom, and this has water in it. And it just right in there. Goes in the fridge. Keeps my herbs really nice and fresh for a really long time. And this, I'm just going to do a nice rough chop on the cilantro here. Now you could omit the cilantro if you want. I mean, I don't see how chili is chili without cilantro, but you know, you may like chili without because you have that gene that makes it taste like soap. So leave it out if you don't want to put it in, that's fine. Make it your own, guys. All right, so that's all I have for now. So we're gonna take this over to the pot and then we're gonna put it all together and you'll see how quick it is, and we'll just let it set it and forget it for a little while. Come on, check it out. All right, so I've got everything else here ready for the cook. Setting up my station, my mise en place, or everything in its place, which is what that means. Put a little bit of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons on the bottom, and then you're going to add all your veg here, including the garlic and the onions on the bottom. Okay, so that's going to go in there. I'm just going to give it a nice stir. You're going to have this on like a medium to high heat because you want to sweat the veggies a little bit. Mix them all up. And the reason why I said this is kind of like a pantry meal plus some of the fresh is that you have over here, what's left to use for this is all of your spices and these cans here. So we're going to be using a can of pinto beans, a can of kidney beans, and a can of diced tomatoes. Then this is the ground beef that we're using, which is the plant-based beef. You can use any kind you want. You could use regular beef if you want. Like, this is just how I'm making it, but it'll be just as fine if you want to use regular beef. If you don't want to have a meatless Monday, that's okay. It's not, you know, your prerogative. But I do recommend trying this out with this kind of beef because even my mother-in-law, who is a meat eater, was like not knowing much about anything vegan or vegetarian. When I made this for her, she was like, I cannot believe this is not real meat. Like, she really liked it a lot. And then I'm using 2 cups of my own vegetable broth. If you don't have your own, you could definitely use store-bought, but it's about 2 cups because you're not going to make this very, even though it's soup season, it's not going to be very soupy, you know, because chili is like hearty and stuff. And I do have a little bit of a soupier version with my all bean chili, which is strictly vegan. No meat at all, not even the vegan crumbles. I mean, this is also vegan, but I'm saying like for really, like, if you don't want to eat the substitute meats, I have that video. It's also already posted if you wanted to check that out. That one's a little bit more soupier if you wanted something like a soup. This is going to be like more of a thick, hearty kind of chili, like chunky, you know, which is going to be really good. So we're just going to sizzle these for a little bit, kind of sweat them and bring out their essence, which means their flavor, to start really coming through. You just want to be careful. You want to make sure you're kind of stirring it around because the garlic is small. We don't want it to burn. So just gonna keep stirring here a little bit. Okay. And then it looks like everything seems pretty glossy. So now we're going to go ahead and add in our other stuff. So this is a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Just going to add it all in there with the juice. And then we're going to add a 15-ounce can of kidney beans. We're going to add their juice too because that starchiness will also add to the thickening of the chili. And then the 15-ounce can of the beans. Okay. And just give that a stir. So you can see there's already a good amount of liquid in here already. But some of this is going to evaporate out, but this is all from the can of juices. And then we are going to add our broth. Again, this is about 2 cups of vegetable broth. If you're using regular beef, you can use beef broth. You can use chicken broth, however you want. If you want to make this a chicken chili, you can do ground chicken. You know, that'll be just as good too. You know, the choices that we make are individual. You know, these are just basic recipes that you can really just have fun with it. Make your own. Okay. So I'm putting this whole bag in here. This is 13 ounces or so, which is a little under like a pound of meat. But I got 2 bags out because I just didn't know how much. I couldn't remember if I used a whole bag or 2 whole bags or 1.5 bags. But it looks like 1 bag is going to be just plenty. So you can see here that everything looks really nice and incorporated. Okay. And now we're going to add our spices. So we're going to do a teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder. You know, we're trying to mimic the flavors of the veg that we have in there. A tablespoon, actually 2 tablespoons of chili powder, and a tablespoon of cumin or cumin. Okay? And then let's say 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay. All right. So just give that a mix. All right. Get everything nice and incorporated. Now this isn't going to take long because I'm using the vegan meat that's technically already cooked. It's only going to need to cook for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, which is another reason why I love using the vegan meat. Because if you use the ground beef, you would have to probably cook it for maybe another like 45 to 50 or 60 minutes, just to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. But this is just really about softening the vegetables enough that they're not like super crunchy, like when you eat it, you know. So you're going to want to let this cook for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to check it. Oh, I almost forgot our cilantro, guys. I added the coriander, which is the ground seed, the seed of the cilantro plant, but gotta add the fresh herbs. If you don't have the fresh herbs, use dried cilantro, but you'll want to use a little bit more of the dried because it does tend to lose some of its flavor. No, less. Sorry, it's concentrated when it's dried. It actually concentrates the flavor. So if you were to use, like, I just used about a 1/4 cup of cilantro, which is about 4 tablespoons. You'll only want to use like 2 tablespoons of the dried because it's more concentrated. So, and then we're just going to taste the broth because there's nothing, even though it's not like finished cooking, there's nothing dangerous about what's in here, right? Because there's nothing like raw beef or raw egg or anything like that. Tastes good already, but everything's going to come together really nicely. So we're going to pop a lid on this. It's going to come up to a boil. We're going to turn it down to a simmer for, again, about 20 to 30 minutes. And then it should be nice and softened for the vegetables and it'll be ready to serve up. Okay, we'll see you back then. Okay, guys, so it has been about 30 minutes. The smell in here is unbelievable. My husband went upstairs to do some work while this was going on, and he comes down. He's like, I can't. It's driving me crazy. We have to like taste this already because it's so good. So this is really reduced down nicely. Now you'll see if you come up in here that there's a evaporation line. So you'll see the difference between here and there. That's how much liquid has evaporated from what you put in the beginning. So that's really what you want to see, because that means everything is concentrated down to really develop those flavors. So we're just gonna add, let's see if I can do this without dirtying another dish. I'll just spoon this in here. Usually I'd get like a ladle or something, but this spoon is pretty deep. I like this wooden spoon. And you can add avocado to this. You can add cheese, sour cream, tortilla chips. I'm going to add a little bit of tortilla chips into this. You can just like stack them on the side and then like dip it in, or you can even like crumble them in on the top, which I love to do, just like rustic, right? So really delicious, just super hearty. Oh, just dive in. This smells unbelievable. You have no idea. Well, hopefully you will know because you're going to make it. and the peppers and everything have really softened, just really the way they're supposed to. Hot. Oh, it's so good. So warm and toasty. It's the perfect meal for a cool evening. Soup season is here, y'all. Chili is part of that group. So don't skip out on this recipe. It is someone that you are going to love. I just know it. So like and subscribe to the channel for more recipes like this, and I hope you try it. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.